I know how that sounds. If I saw this posted by somebody else, I'd assume it was fake, or grief, or one of those creepy little internet stories people write for attention. I wish that's all this was. But if your Ring app buzzed at 3:13 a.m., and the person standing on your porch was someone you helped bury 3 days earlier, you'd probably stop trusting your own eyes, too. My name is Nora. I live, or used to live, in a small town outside Ashbury, Ohio. The kind of place where people don't lock their doors until something bad happens. Church on Sundays, Little League banners on the fences, neighbors who wave from their driveways and know exactly when your trash cans went out late. Quiet, safe, predictable. At least that's what it looked like from the outside. 3 days before everything started, we buried my uncle, Caleb Mercer. Officially, he died in a hunting accident. That's what the county report said. He was out near state land, slipped on wet rock, hit his head, and died before anybody found him. Open and shut. Tragic, but simple. Except Caleb wasn't the kind of man simple things happened to. He was a private investigator. Before that, he'd done contract work for insurance companies and defense attorneys, digging up fraud, missing people, dirty spouses, ugly family secrets. He was the guy people hired when they thought the truth was being buried under paperwork. He used to tell me, "Nora, in towns like this, nothing disappears. It just gets hidden somewhere nobody wants to look." At the funeral, I remember thinking he looked wrong. Not dead wrong, obviously dead, but off. The funeral director, Dorian Voss, kept telling us not to get too close to the casket because of significant trauma to the head. They'd done a heavy cosmetic restoration. That was the phrase he used. Cosmetic restoration. Like my uncle was drywall. After most people left, I walked up to the casket by myself. I don't know why. Maybe because Caleb had always hated being fussed over, and I wanted one quiet second with him before the lid closed forever. That's when I noticed it. There was dirt under his fingernails. Dark, damp dirt. Not a little smudge, not makeup. Dirt, packed up under the nails like he'd been clawing at wet ground. I told myself it was nothing. Some mess from transport. A funeral home mistake. My brain reaching for patterns because I didn't want to believe he was gone. We buried him that afternoon. By nightfall, I was back home alone. I live in a small one-story rental with a narrow front porch, a basement I barely use, and a Ring camera over the front door. I locked up, poured a glass of wine, and tried to shut my brain off. At 3:13 a.m., my phone buzzed on the nightstand. Motion detected, front door. I opened the app, and my entire body went cold. Caleb was standing on my porch. Same dark suit we buried him in. Same broad shoulders. Same crooked posture from an old back injury. But his skin looked gray, almost chalky, and his jacket was streaked with mud. His hair was pasted to his forehead like he'd been out in rain or dragged through wet dirt. He wasn't ringing the bell. He was just standing there, staring directly into the camera. Not at the house, at the camera. At me. I froze. Then I hit live audio and whispered, "Who is that?" For a second there was nothing but static. Then a voice came through. Low, broken, wet somehow. "Nora." I dropped the phone on my blanket. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Then the voice came again, a little clearer this time. "Don't open the door." The video glitched. Then one last sentence crackled through the speaker. "That's not how he killed me." The screen froze. I called 911 so fast I almost hit the wrong number. 2 deputies showed up within 10 minutes. One of them, Tom Briggs had that polite, exhausted look cops get when they already think they know what this is. The other just swept the porch with a flashlight. They were footprints. Mud tracked up the walkway, across the porch steps, right to my front door. And then, nothing. No prints leading away. None in the flower bed, none across the lawn. It looked like whoever made them had walked to my front door and then vanished. I showed them the ring footage. Briggs watched it twice, jaw tight, then handed my phone back. "Could be somebody messing with you," he said. "Old footage, maybe. AI-generated voice. People do weird stuff." "That was my uncle," I said. He didn't even blink. "Ma'am, your uncle is dead." The other officer didn't say much. She just looked around the porch one more time like she didn't like what she was seeing. Her name was Detective Lena Morales, and before she left, she asked me one question. "Repeat exactly what the voice said." I did. "Don't open the door. That's not how he killed me." She looked at Briggs. He looked away. I didn't sleep after that.
Instead, I replayed the footage over and over until sunrise. That's when I noticed something I'd missed the first time. The front window beside my porch reflects part of the walkway and driveway. In the reflection, the porch was empty. No Caleb, no figure, no one standing there. But on the main video, he was crystal clear. By noon, I had a migraine, no appetite, and the kind of fear that makes your house feel unfamiliar. Every room looked slightly off. Every creak sounded deliberate. Then I checked my mailbox. Inside was a plain brown envelope with no stamp and no return address. There was a micro SD card inside. On the front, written in black marker, were 6 words. "If I end up dead, don't trust Ashbury PD." I almost called the police. Then I remembered Briggs' face when I repeated what the voice said. I used my laptop instead. The card contained folders, photos, scanned documents, maps, license plate numbers, voice memos, a mess of files Caleb had clearly organized for himself and no one else. It took me less than 20 minutes to understand one thing. My uncle had not died in a random hunting accident. He had been building a case. For the last 8 months, 6 people from 3 neighboring counties had gone missing. Different ages, different backgrounds. At first glance, unrelated. 1 overdose victim, 1 runaway, 1 domestic violence victim who supposedly left town, 1 drifter, 2 unconfirmed deceased. But Caleb had linked all of them to one place, Cedar Hollow Memorial Funeral Home. The same funeral home that handled his body. I found photos of hearses parked behind closed loading docks after midnight, vehicle logs, copies of death certificates with handwritten notes in the margins, one spreadsheet matching missing persons reports to cremation transfers that never should have happened. And then I found an audio recording Caleb made 2 days before he died. His voice was tense in a way I'd never heard before. "If anything happens to me, look at Cedar Hollow. They're not moving bodies. They're moving witnesses. If I'm dead, it means I got too close. And if Tom Briggs gets involved, do not tell him what you have." I sat there staring at the screen until my coffee went cold. Then I called Detective Morales. Not the station. Her direct number from the card she'd handed me the night before. She came alone. When she sat at my kitchen table and started scrolling through Caleb's files, she stopped looking like a detective and started looking like someone watching a floor open beneath her feet. "Has anyone else seen this?" she asked. "No." "Good." She kept reading. By the time she finished the audio memo, she had both hands flat on the table. "If this is legit," she said quietly, "your uncle was murdered." I asked the question already lodged in my throat. "Can I trust you?" She met my eyes and answered a little too fast. "Yes." Then after a beat, "But don't trust anybody else until I know who's dirty." That night, Morales parked an unmarked car across the street from my house and told me to keep every light off and not answer the door for anyone. At 3:13 a.m., the Ring app buzzed again. I almost threw the phone. Caleb was back. This time he was closer to the camera. Close enough for me to see the details. Torn skin along his left cheek. Mud caked into the collar of his suit. Eyes too dark, too fixed, too wrong. I opened live audio before I could stop myself. He leaned toward the camera. "The basement," he whispered. Then he slowly turned his head to the right, like he was listening to something inside the house. My basement. I have an unfinished basement with concrete walls, exposed pipes, and one pull chain bulb at the bottom of the stairs. I use it for storage and laundry. That's it. I stared at the basement door from the hallway and suddenly felt sick. Then the porch floodlight flickered. The live feed distorted. For half a second, another shape appeared at the edge of the frame behind Caleb, tall, thin, and motionless. Then the screen cut black. Outside, I heard Morales shout, "Nora, stay inside!" I ran to the front window. Morales was on the porch with her gun drawn, but nobody was there. Not Caleb, not anybody. Later, when she reviewed the Ring history with me, those 11 seconds were corrupted. Just digital garbage and one frozen frame at the end. In that final frame, Caleb was gone. Tom Briggs was standing inches from my camera, looking directly up into it. Morales didn't say anything for a long time after that. The next morning, she pushed for an emergency exhumation of Caleb's grave. The county fought her on it. The sheriff's office dragged its feet. The coroner suddenly needed more paperwork. Then, just after lunch, the funeral director, Dorian Voss, was found dead in the prep room at Cedar Hollow. His chest had been ripped open by 3 deep puncture wounds. Written in blood on the stainless steel embalming table were 4 words. He came back wrong. The whole town exploded after that. News vans, Facebook conspiracy posts, rumors about grave robbing, satanic rituals, cartel trafficking, body harvesting. Everybody wanted a version that made sense to them. Morales didn't care about rumors. She cared about Briggs. So did I. The problem was Briggs kept showing up. At the gas station when I was with Morales, outside the sheriff's office, across the street from Cedar Hollow. Once, just sitting in his cruiser at the far end of my block with the engine running. He called me that evening. His voice was calm, friendly even. "Hey, Nora. Morales is overreacting. Your uncle had a reputation for getting obsessive. You're probably getting worked up over grief and some bad footage." I said nothing. Then he added, "If somebody shows up at your house again, let us in right away. Don't make the mistake of keeping the door closed." The way he said it made my skin crawl. Not if I show up. If somebody does. That night I shoved a chair under the basement doorknob. At 2:47 a.m., I heard something below me. A scraping sound. Slow, dragging, like fingernails on concrete. I sat up in bed and held my breath. It stopped. Then came 3 knocks. Not at the front door, at the basement door. I grabbed my phone with one hand and the lamp with the other. Another knock. Then a voice from below, thin and ragged. "Nora." I backed into the hallway, staring at the basement door. The Ring app buzzed. Motion detected. Front door. I opened it. Tom Briggs stood on my porch in plain clothes, breathing hard. "It's me," he said. "Open up. Morales sent me." At that exact moment, something hit the basement door from the other side. Hard enough to rattle the frame. I couldn't move. Briggs pounded on the front door. "Nora, open it!" Then the ring speaker crackled. A second voice cut in. Low, dead, familiar. That's him. Briggs heard it too. I know because his face changed. He turned slowly toward the dark end of the porch. Caleb stepped into the light. He looked worse than before. Mud-soaked, head tilted at a broken angle, one side of his face caved in like something had crushed bone and never fixed it. But there was nothing pleading in him now. He wasn't there for me. He was there for Briggs. Briggs stumbled backward and grabbed my door handle. "Nora, open the damn door!" Behind me, the basement door shook again. Below that, I heard footsteps on the stairs. Inside my house. Outside on the porch, Caleb took one slow step forward. Briggs started screaming. Not shouting, screaming. The porch light blew out. The camera went grainy. Shapes moved in black and white static. Briggs slipping, something tall lunging, his body jerking sideways so violently it no longer looked human. Then came a sound I'll hear until I die. A sharp crack. Then another. Then silence. At the same instant, the pounding at my basement door stopped. No footsteps, no scraping, nothing. Just stillness. Pure, impossible stillness. 2 minutes later, Morales and 2 state troopers tore through my front door. They found me in the hallway, barefoot, shaking so hard I couldn't answer questions. Briggs was dead on the porch. His neck was bent at an angle that no living body survives. Under his fingernails was fresh black grave dirt. In his jacket pocket was a storage unit key. That key cracked the case wide open. At an abandoned cold storage facility 30 miles outside town, police found forged death paperwork, sedatives, transport records, burner phones, and personal belongings tied to multiple missing persons cases. Caleb had been right. It wasn't just funeral fraud. It was a trafficking pipeline. Certain vulnerable people were being erased on paper, processed through corrupt channels, and moved as deceased so nobody would keep looking for them. Cedar Hollow handled paperwork and transport. Somebody in county law enforcement made the records disappear. Briggs was one of them. And Caleb? He found out too much. Forensics later proved his death scene had been staged. The accident in the woods wasn't an accident at all. He'd been beaten, transported, and dumped. Morales told me that part herself. But then she told me one more thing, and that's the part I still can't explain. The night Briggs died on my porch, Morales had finally secured the order to exhume Caleb's body. The grave was opened while she was present. The casket seal was intact, and Caleb's body was inside. Exactly where it should have been. I asked her the question she clearly didn't want me to ask. Then who was at my door? She stared at me for a long time. Then she said, "The official answer? Trauma, stress, digital corruption, and a witness under extreme psychological strain. And the real answer?" She looked away. "I'm not sure I want one." The case made state news for a week, then national for maybe a day. Cedar Hollow was shut down. The sheriff resigned. Charges rolled in. Morales transferred out before the department could bury her in politics. I put my house on the market immediately. I was packing up 7 days later when I made the mistake of opening the Ring app one last time to wipe the device history for the next owner. That's when I saw a clip I'd never viewed. 3 a.m. the night before. I hit play. The porch was empty. Leaves skittered across the boards in the wind. Then Caleb walked into frame from the left. Only this time he didn't look rotted or broken. He looked normal. Still pale, maybe. Still a little too still, but clean. Suit straight, face calm. Like he'd finally stepped out of whatever nightmare had dragged him back. He looked directly into the camera. Then he gave the smallest nod. Not a warning, a goodbye. He turned, walked down the porch steps, and disappeared into the dark. Right before the clip ended, the microphone picked up one last whisper. Soft, distant. Nothing under the house now. I sold the place, left Ohio, changed my number, got a new apartment in another state where nobody knows my name and nobody asks why I triple-check deadbolts. But I never deleted the Ring account. Because once in a while, maybe twice a year, maybe less, my phone still buzzes at 3:13 a.m. The thumbnail is never my porch. Sometimes it's a cemetery gate. Sometimes an empty road cutting through cornfields. Once it was the loading dock behind a building I'd never seen before. And in every single clip, if you look long enough, there's a figure standing somewhere in the distance. Tall, motionless, waiting. You can never see its face. But just before the video ends, close to the mic, there's always that same torn whisper. The same one that wakes me up drenched in sweat. The same one I hear in my nightmares.
Don't open the door.